wildlife campaign of its kind that brings together every few months thousands of people through the centre of this city to outside this embassy, in Trafalgar Square, outside Westminster, because this country and the caring, compassionate people in this country are leading the charge to stop the horrible slaughter and exploitation of dolphins in Japan. Wouldn't you agree that we're reading the world? Yes. This embassy here and this ambassador here has been saying to MPs in Westminster that he wants us to go away, that he feels that we are embarrassing his officials, we are embarrassing the image of Japan to the world by standing outside of here with our placards, with our megaphones, shouting shame on Japan. Well, I'll tell you this, we are going nowhere. We're getting stronger, we're coming back more regularly, and the world is taking notice of what we're doing. Are we going anywhere?
No!
We know why we're here. We're here because what happens in this small cove in Japan not only shames the nation of Japan, it shames the world. Every year, as we speak at this very moment in time, hundreds of dolphins are herded into Taiji Cove. They are hauled out by their tails. They have metal lances inserted into their spinal cords. It takes 5, 10, 15 minutes for these animals with complex nervous systems to die. A painful, disgusting death that would not be acceptable in any slaughterhouse anywhere in the world. Does any of us feel that's culture? Do any of us feel that's something that should be able to continue? Do we?
No! Absolutely not.
The Cove brought to the world's attention the horrible slaughter of these animals. It quite rightly won an Oscar as the best documentary in 2008. But our attention spans are very short. We move on. We forget what's going on. And it's very convenient for the Japanese government to try and hide from the world the horror of what's going on at Taiji Cove. But what we're doing here in London, what the Dolphin Project and Sea Shepherd are doing on the ground in Taiji Cove is bearing witness, bringing to the world's attention the fact that we won't go quiet. We will be here. We will get louder. We will bring to the world's attention the fact that these animals need protection. And there is nothing about culture in the killing of dolphins at Taiji Cove. It's not about culture. It's about greed. It's about the marine park business wanting to grab dolphins. And they don't care if all the dolphin family is destroyed around the one dolphin they take away because it happens to look the way they want it to be when it goes to some marine park prison in Florida or some other part of the world. And don't forget, by the time those dolphins are put on a jumbo jet, by the time they're transported across the world, over 50% of them will be dead within 3 months. The trauma of seeing their family slaughtered in front of their eyes, the trauma of being carried across the world in an aeroplane hole and put into some concrete prison would be enough to kill all of us. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And it's no different for dolphins. And we know, as we've just heard, that dolphin meat is not something that anyone should be consuming. It's full of heavy metals like lead and mercury and cadmium. No one in their right mind in Japan should be eating this stuff. Their chief medical officer has told the public not to eat it. And most of that meat from those dolphins ends up as dog food or fertilizer. Do any of us feel that's acceptable?
No!
And the world must wake up to the plight of dolphins. There is no global protection for this species. The International Whaling Commission does not cover dolphins. The CITES, the UN Framework on Endangered Species and Trade in Endangered Species, does not cover dolphins. You can, anywhere in the world today, hunt a dolphin. You can catch it in a fishing line. You can kill it if you're part of the military. And there is no proper protection whatsoever. Do any of us agree that should be going on?
No!
So this is not just about Japan. It's about the Solomon Islands. It's about the Faroe Islands where pilot whales are killed. It's about other parts of the world where whales and small dolphins of this kind that we see in Taiji Cove have no proper protection whatsoever. So we're saying to the governments of the world that we are here to make sure that you take your responsibility seriously. The UK government, the European Union, the United States and Japan, that we will not allow you anymore to slaughter these wonderful, intelligent animals. We are making a stand. We are going to be coming back here day in, day out. And we are sparking a global debate, not just in Britain, but around the world. There are many people here today from Holland. Let's give a clap to all those people that have come from Holland. 500 children recently in a school that I spoke at that it's not right for them to go to SeaWorld. It's not right for them to go to marine parks and forget where those dolphins came from. So when you're sitting there in the sun, thinking you're being entertained looking at that animal, you should think about the cruelty that it went through to get it there, and you should think about the slaughter of its family around it. Because when you do think about that, as these children did, when I spoke to them, they said to me, I'm never going to go back there again. And if I have children, I ain't going to take them there either. Now that's what we've got to do. We've got to educate the world. We've got to change people's mindsets. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes!
But I tell you what, we've got a lot to do, because many of you would have seen that horrible image from that beach in Argentina yesterday, where tourists scooped out of the surf a young baby dolphin, and rather than do something to rescue it and protect it, they passed it around for selfies to post those pictures on Facebook and Twitter. That shows you how ignorant, that shows you how stupid, that shows you how cruel many people are. They don't even think about what they're doing. Wouldn't you agree? And that's why it's so important that we march through cities like this, that we share images of what we know goes on in Taiji Cove on social media, that we tell our friends that they shouldn't go to marine parks, that we get Japanese tourists to take pictures of what they see today, and hundreds have, and they share those images back in Japan, and they start questioning why it is that their nation should be shamed for a few greedy fishermen. They get $150,000 a shot by selling a dolphin into captivity in a marine park prison while they slaughter all their family. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes!
We are winning this debate, but it will take time. We are making businesses like SeaWorld suffer. Their ticket sales are plummeting. Their seats are not being filled. A new generation of people who watch Blackfish in the Cove and come on these protests will not support those businesses. But we have a problem, because in more parts of the world, like Thailand and China, the demand for marine park businesses is growing. And I was very pleased to see a few weeks ago, after our last protest here, that there was a protest in Korea, where people on the streets of South Korea protesting against a dolphinarium and the capture of dolphins to go into that concrete prison. It's a small step, but it's an important step when we see that, and all of us should take heart. It isn't easy being in a country like South Korea and Japan and sticking your head above the parapet and saying enough is enough. It's easier for us to do it here. But we must support them. We must work with them. We must also work with our colleagues and friends in places like Australia, where at the moment they're lobbying to take the town of Broome and actually break its cultural ties with Taiji, Japan. Those ties go back only to the 1980s. They were basically connected because of pearl fishermen that came to that part of Australia many, many years before. But quite rightly, the people living in Broome and the dolphin campaign community in Australia are saying, take heart, look what's happening in London. The Australian media must ask questions about why a town can have a cultural connection with a place of such misery and disgusting cruelty as Taiji Cove. Wouldn't you agree?
Well said!
And I couldn't be here today without paying credit to a certain man that's been here many times standing beside me and many of you. That's Rico Barry, a real hero, wouldn't you agree?
Yes!
You know what I like about Rico Barry? He is a caring, conscious, compassionate man. He's not a violent man. He's a man that has seen the worst of exploitation. He was involved in it in the 1960s when he made Flipper and other television and films. He turned his back on it. He learnt about what was wrong, and he changed his life. And he's now travelling the world, bearing witness to dolphin cruelty, campaigning to protect these wonderful, beautiful animals. And what does the Japanese government do? When he flew into Tokyo, the day that we had our protest here in London, it covered massive media interest around the world, particularly because of the connection with David Bowie and his sad death. They interned him at the airport. They said, you can't enter Japan, you're a subversive. You're basically a threat to our nation's security. This 75-year-old peaceful man is not allowed into the nation of Japan. You know what he did? He said to the Japanese authorities, you might not let me in, but I ain't going home, not voluntarily. I will stay here, even if you make it uncomfortable for me, and you put me in a detention cell as they did for over 19 days. I will stay here until you put me on a plane and you deport me. And in that time, the rest of the world can see what a shameful action the Japanese government is taking. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes!
And he did stick it out, despite the fact that he wasn't eating very well, despite the fact that he was quite ill. He stuck it out for 19 days. In my view, a political prisoner of conscience for animals, just as there's a political conscience for human rights, for animal rights too. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And we say to Rick, they might not allow you back into Japan for 5 years, but there'll be many other people that will go into Japan to replace you. I also pay respect to all those involved in Sea Shepherd as well, who are constantly running this barrage of harassment and intimidation from the Japanese government. And all they are seeking to do is to bear witness to the world and to share, as they do wonderfully every day, the horrors of what is going on in that place over social media. So let's have a huge cheer for Rick O'Barry. Let's have a huge cheer for what's going on with Sea Shepherd as well. Saying how important this movement is. For a charity like Born Free, this is bread and butter to us, coming and working with you here on the streets. We're not a big NGO, but I'm afraid some of the bigger ones like I4 and Greenpeace and WWF, despite all the wonderful work they do, and they do wonderful work, are very, very sensitive about getting involved in this issue, because they have many other things they deal with the Japanese government on. But as a smaller NGO that's campaigned for years about dolphin captivity, about exploitation and slaughter, we are with you 100%. We are with you as Sea Shepherd is with you. We are with you as the Dolphin Project are with you. And remember that we need your ongoing support. It's these smaller organisations that are campaigning and working with you that are helping bringing this tragic, horrible, horrible slaughter to the world's attention. And the other thing I have to say, I have to thank Becca and her mum today, because I believe this is the 5th such protest they've organised. In their own time, with their own money, coming all the way down from the northeast. This is one of the biggest protest march movements anywhere in Europe today. So let's have a huge, huge round of applause for Becca and her mum as well. We are going to be here, many of us, for many hours, so let's just make our voices heard. Keep on fighting. We're back in London in March, again, marching for dolphins, so you'll see all the information on the websites about that event, so please come and give it your support. We will make sure that London stays the global capital of this movement. We will make sure that the world will not be able to take notice of what's happening here without coming to London and seeing what we're doing. They will wake up to this reality. They are, and you are making it happen. Social media, people coming together, a caring, compassionate movement that is changing the world. Keep fighting. Thank you.
Thank you.